Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihi amma ba'du. I greet the listening audience. Assalamu alaikum. And welcome to our Thursday evening Qur'anic presentation. And we're continuing on chapter 25, verse 73. And I believe there's one more after this that will complete the chapter called Al-Furqan, the discernment. And in the chapter, we are comparing the thinking of Ibn Arabi in particular with the thinking of Imam W.D. Muhammad, though we're looking at a couple of other sources as well. And perhaps this will come out as a writing comparing the thinking of Imam W.D. Muhammad and Ibn Arabi on the chapter called Al-Furqan. So we began reading the verse. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِّرُوا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ. And those when ذُكِّرُوا, they have reflected, they remembered, they reflected. This is what we're going to be talking about today. We're looking at the idea from this verse. We're going to extract the idea of reflecting. Reflecting. So those who have reflected, who think, we'll talk more about it, of the verses, the ayati, I'm going to say verses this time, of their Lord. They reflect upon the verses of their Lord. Lam yakharu, they do not fall. They do not fall, or they do not fail upon it, upon the reflections of the verses. Someone, as someone who is blind, who is deaf. Well, umyanan, or as someone who is blind. Dhukiru. We try to keep in mind the verse. When you reflect, we're going to talk about what this reflection is. And when you are performing this reflection, you do not fall short of the reflection as someone who is deaf or blind, or deaf and blind. So the first, let's look at the word from Ragib al-Isfahani, the Qur'anic dictionary. Looking at the word, we're going to look at dhukiru. We're looking at the word dhukiru. This is our key word, dhukiru. So we say that, kat, and ra are the fundamental letters, the basic letters, the root letters that form the word. That forms the word. However, the meaning of the word comes from azikru, the internal noun azikru. This is where we're going to get the root meaning. So he says, as azikru taratan, there at times, yuqalu, it is said, yuradu, that it is intended by it, el hayatun, a an agent linafsi of the soul, and a form, a certain form that belongs to the soul, the nafs. By it is able for mankind that he will be able to yahfadu, that he will be able to preserve, to protect and preserve ma yaqtinihi, what he has acquired, of the reflection, or what he has acquired of that which he has preserved. Min al-ma'rifati, from the knowledge, or we can even say from the education, or we can even go further and say from the culture. Keep in mind what we're saying. وَهُوَ كَالْحِفْظِ, and it is like preserving. We're talking about the idea of dhikru. Dhikru is like preserving, except that al-hifza, yuqalu, al-hifza, preservation, it is said, i'tibarun, is taken in consideration bi-ihrazi. It is taken in consideration of acquisition. When you're preserving something, acquiring it is taken into consideration. When we're saying that a zikru is like yahfadu, you're preserving something. Something is preserved. So, but preservation is more like acquiring something. You acquire it, you preserve and protect it. What zikru itself, it is said with the consideration of bi-istihdarihi. That's with summoning, producing or summoning, or we could say even recalling. So it's more, dhikru is more to summon that which you have preserved. You have acquired and preserved it, but dhikru in itself is the idea of summoning it, bringing it to the forefront. In that sense, we say وَتَارَةً يُقَالُ لِلْهُدُورِ الشَّيْء. And sometimes it is said for the presence of something, bringing something forward in terms of al-qalbu, the heart, or al-qawlu, or the speech. You bring it forward, and you're looking at it. You bring it to the presence. It could have been stored for years. Even in the genetic memory bank, there may be, I'm going to say it like this, pictures that have been stored there from ancestry, genetically from ancestry, that may be summoned through the process of dhikru. Yes. When we're talking about ayati rabbihim, we're talking about the verses or the signs, the transcending signs, the verses of their Lord could be lying dormant for years. And then something occurs in which you are summoning those pictures that have been stored. This is what Dr. C. Eric Lincoln, when he studied and made observations of the Muslims under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the African-American Muslims, he was saying that what made it so easy and why the African-American was responding so quickly and easily to Al-Islam is because we were Muslims before in Africa. Though we couldn't recall it in terms of huduri, but it's something that was being triggered in our genetic makeup that we couldn't recall. We could recall, but not consciously. And we were being influenced by it. Yes. Just an example of what we say. Now, in the Quran, we know it is dhikrun lil alameen. Meaning, alameen is all the people, all the sciences, all the knowledge, all the people in terms of knowledge. This Quran is a reflection that could trigger something in their genetic memory. It's stored in a genetic memory, perhaps from prophets of day one, that can be recalled by any and everything in the world, which would take another presentation to elaborate. Now we go to Ibn Kathir. That's defining the idea of dhukiru. So Ibn Kathir, he says, commenting on the part of the verse here, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِّرُوا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ لَمْ يَخِرُّوا عَلَيْهَا سُمًّا وَعُمْيَانًا. I have to let you all know, and I do this with every presentation when I'm using Arabic, I am talking specifically and directly to Mali students who can follow this in Arabic. They follow along in Arabic. They see the Arabic. They understand the Arabic, and especially the students that in my classes, the more advanced students, they are able to comprehend and see what I'm saying. So I'm not doing the Arabic just to be doing it. I'm actually speaking to a group. Those of you who perhaps are not in the Mali classes and you may not be able to follow the Arabic, just follow along with the English as I give it. But it's like a class for the Mali students. It's part of their studies. So I want to say that. Otherwise, it's not intelligent and it's not good to speak Arabic to an audience that don't understand Arabic. This doesn't make sense. So there is an audience that I am speaking to. And more, we have students that are joining in Mali as we open classes twice a year. And we do have perhaps at least 100 students that sign up. So, saying that, I don't have to translate this again. وَهَذِهِ أَيْضًا, and these also, مِنْ الصِّفَاتِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And this is also, we could say, from the description of the believer. We could say, when وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِّرُوا. So Ibn Kathir is relating this to the believers when Allah says, الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ, and those when Allah is recalled, Allah is summoned, Allah is remembered. وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ, their hearts tremble. Their hearts tremble. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ and when it is rehearsed upon them. See, I'm going to take a little time today. So we're talking about Dhukiru. We're relating this to Dhukiru. Now we're doing Qur'an bil Qur'an. With Dhukiru, when you summon the picture that you get, well, first you preserve it. First you read the verse, and you have to reflect on where you see this at. You make a picture of it and preserve that picture. Then, when you remember, you recall, you reflect upon it, their hearts, because as they reflect upon the picture, they come back and associate it with the verse. I'm going to say pretty much on this. So their hearts will tremble when Tuliyat Alayhim is rehearsed, because they're seeing the Quran being rehearsed in the picture that you have preserved when you read it the first time. When you read the verse, like right now, when I read this verse, for example, and preparing for today, where do I see this verse at? I see the verse in the class this past weekend, talking about reflection. The students doing reflections and making reflections as they're reading the verse. So when I remember, I'm making a picture of something that I have experienced. Now I can begin to describe the picture as I'm doing so. I'm rehearsing the sign here. I'm rehearsing the verse from the class. Now, some of you that were in the class, that comes up in your mind also, especially Tuesday, in Tuesday's class session. So it comes up in your mind, even though it's kind of abstract, you still can bring it up. And now you can attach the verse with it, the whole conversation that we had. Yes. So you make a picture, you read the verse, you make a picture, then Tuliyat, when it's rehearsed upon them, Ayatuhu, his verses. So let's go back to the subject of Dr. C.R. Lincoln. So in Africa, we practice Islam. And he's saying we must have been very dedicated as Muslims for the word, I'm going to say the word, the Islamic word, to be embedded in our memory like that. And when we see, when it's rehearsed, like just the words Assalamu alaikum, and we see this verse now being rehearsed, yes, Zadathum imanan. It increases them in terms of faith. It increases the faith. Yes. How can these people be so dedicated to Islam that the world, the rest of the world is saying that's not the true Islam? But what's in it? Dr. C.R. Lincoln didn't come that route. He's saying there's something in it. Just the saying Assalamu alaikum, just the saying Allah was triggering in the memory bank that they are seeing spiritually in their mind. They're witnessing the rehearsal of the verse, and it increased them in faith. وَعَلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ, and upon their Lord يَتَوَكَّلُونَ, they trust. Yes. Now, I'm not being too detailed. I'm giving you this picture. I'm doing it fast, not detailed. I'm not giving you the ABCs. You can fill in the blanks, but you understand what I'm saying. Yes. Now, this can also occur when you read the Quran, you read the verses consciously, and you comprehend what the verses are saying consciously, and you make a picture of it consciously, and store it, preserve it. And any time that picture comes back up, something triggers that picture to come back up, the Qur'an comes up with it. Then you can drop the picture off and take the principles, the qualities, the abstract from it. Bikhilafi al-kafir. It's opposite of the kafir, the disbeliever. See, this is about the believer, but it's the opposite of the disbeliever, and the kafir is the one who intentionally covers it up. Now recall what we discussed in the class, because now I'm showing you the Qur'anic evidence of what I've been saying. If you read in Qur'an and that picture comes up, but you don't want that picture, maybe it's referring to something close to you and you don't want to see it. So you cover it up. You hear someone saying, Assalamu alaikum. And when you hear it, that picture comes up. The verse comes up. But you don't want it to come up because you're in America, and you know Americans don't like Muslims. You cover it up. When you read the Quran, it brings a vivid picture to your mind. And you cover it up because you don't want that picture. You want Allah to give you another picture. You want the angels to help you with another picture that's not so personal, that's not so close. Give me a picture from Saudi Arabia 500 years ago that's not so close to me. That's how many of us talk. But what about reading the Quran and picturing and seeing it and applying it to your life right here in America, 2023? Yes. فَإِنَّهُ إِذَا سَمِعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ. And surely the ones who cover it up, they keep doing it. You're suppressing yourself. You're suppressing the ideas while you're reading the Quran and you know it. So when they hear, Sami'a kalam Allah, when they hear the speech of Allah, la yu'tharu fihi, it doesn't influence them. They're not influenced by it because they're kafir. After a while, they're not influenced by it. The heart, it doesn't register with the heart. Yes. And there are many like this. Sometimes we read the Quran and we know that's a principle, that's an American, everyday American principle, but we want to suppress that because we don't want to say anything positive about America. We have Muslims. You read it and the picture comes up. But it's a good picture of a Christian. But we don't want that picture. So we cover it up. We suppress it. After a while, with all of this suppression and trying to make choices of how you want to see something, after a while, it's not influencing the Quran, it's not influencing you at all. You want your mind to go somewhere you've never been before and try to apply it. And someone comes from somewhere that you've never been before and tells you how to apply it according to how they did where they came from. You begin to find the Quran will have no influence on you. This Quran is written in a way that it can permeate, it can influence any society on earth without that society becoming another society. Saying that you don't have to become an Arab to benefit from the Quran. You don't even have to become an African to benefit from the Quran. You can learn to read this Quran for yourself and apply it to your life in America and not having been touched by a man, another man. In your application, yes, we have historical proof of this. And we have Qur'anic proof of this, what I'm saying. وَلَا يَتَغَيَّرُ, and it does not change. عَمَّا كَانَ عَلَيْهِ. It won't change anything that was upon it. It won't make any changes. We have to ask ourselves. Now, the picture just came up. See, as I'm talking, pictures are coming up, and I'm not suppressing the pictures in fear I may offend someone. It's not personal. It's just I'm speaking from experience, and the pictures is coming up, and I'm just talking. I'm not suppressing myself today, not even for time. Not as much as I usually do. Let me put it that way. I am suppressing some thoughts because I know it's going to take time to get it out. So I have to suppress those thoughts. So the picture just came up. It just hit me. Why are we being Muslims and reading Quran we claiming and praying and following the principles and there's no change? We're not seeing change. We're not seeing increase. We're not seeing development. We are not seeing the influence of the Quran upon us the way it should be. That's the picture I just got from reading this. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't go anywhere other than right here where I'm sitting in the group that I'm associated with right here. I'm not going somewhere else to find a kafir, someone who keeps covering up until there's no influence at all. All you have is a label and some du'as. But we can't see where the influence of the Quran is on the heart. That by us being Muslim, we begin to flourish in the sciences. Yes, because the Quran is the foundation of all sciences. And Allah is Rabbil Alameen. He is the Lord, the guardian evolver of all sciences. However, يبقى مستمرا على كفره وطغيانه. He remains continuing upon his disbelief, his covering up. It's not always the one who doesn't carry the label. It's the one who continues to suppress his own self, tyrannize his own self with his own cover-up. وَجَهْلِهِ وَضَلَالِهِ, and his ignorance continues, and he continues to stray. كما قال تعالى وَأَمَّ الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ, as for those who in their hearts, maradun is an illness, a sickness, فَزَادَتْهُمْ رِجْسًا إِلَى رِجْسِهِمْ, so it increases them in their corrupt soul. I'm going to say for rijsan, corruption to more corruption. And then he goes on. That's Ibn Kathir saying similar things. Let's look at Ibn Arabi. So here in Ibn Arabi he's saying, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِّرُوا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ. And we translated this already. that is to say, the first part of the verse, that is to say, Kushifu, el-ma'arifu, meaning the education, the knowledge, the education is exposed. They are exposed to, they're being exposed to knowledge and education when they are reflecting upon the verses. I'm saying verses, we can say signs, but I'm trying to be more specific. And el-haqa'iqu, and the true realities began to open up. Kushifu begins to open up, begins to reveal itself, open up. They began to see when they're looking at it. And then as the physical picture began to drop out, the true reality, the true haqa'iqu, the true reality and principle and law begins to come about. Yes. Where tajliyati and the revelation of sifati qualities, wala mushahadati, wal mushahadati, and the witnessing. Let me elaborate a little here in what I'm saying here. Let me give a little story. I was sitting in Dearborn, here in the Detroit area. We have the city of Dearborn. And in South Dearborn, there's a very large Arab population, a very large Muslim Arab population. And I was there some years ago. And we were sitting in this shop, and I was having my laptop worked on by someone there. So we're in Dearborn. So you go to Dearborn, it's Arabs everywhere. So it's an Arab town, practically. So anyways, we're sitting there, me, friend of mine, and then there's the person that owned the shop working on the laptops. So he was kind of in the back. So this person comes in, he just walks in, and we're sitting there on couches. He walks in, he sits down, and he says, you know, every Arabic word has a picture that goes with it. He got up and walked out. He didn't greet anyone. He didn't say anything. That's all he said. So the owner says, who is that? And we're like, I don't know. You should know him. He's in your neighborhood. You should not. We don't know him. He just said what he said and walked out. But it registered with me what he said. Every Arabic word has a picture that goes with it. Now, sometimes when we're reading Raghib, he shows us a picture. Yes. So what happens, we get a picture. Let's say we get a picture of a lion. A lion comes up. And the Qur'an gives many pictures, but we're to interpret the pictures. We're not to take the pictures to be the reality. The picture is just holding for us the principles and ideas of the verse. That's not the true reality. And what you have preserved is not the true reality. You just preserve the picture, the experience that you made a picture of. You just preserve that. So we kind of say word association, verse association. So you pull that picture back up. It's containing the verse in it, but you drop the picture off because what you're going to eventually begin to see is the true universal reality of what's being said. So let's say a picture comes up of a lion. This picture comes up. So what you have preserved is a certain quality, sifat, of the lion. So al-mushahadat, you bring the lion up, you see the lion, but what you have preserved is the quality of bravery. Yes. So you see bravery, so you store the picture of the lion. It comes back up, and when it comes up, you become a witness to the idea of bravery, because that's what you stored in that picture. Maybe you didn't store quickness. Maybe you didn't store fast, speed. Maybe you didn't store other qualities. The qualities that you stored, when it comes up, you recall those qualities, and you see them, and you witness. You become a witness to bravery in something else. So you would say, Salim, you won't say Salim is brave, because brave would be abstract. You would say Salim is a lion. Yes, you say Salim is a lion, meaning that Salim is brave. You drop the lion off now, because that's an attribute of the lion, and now you would say Salim is brave. It's all abstract. Musa had that. You see it. Once you see it, you apply it to the situation. So here, once the verse comes up, you stored it with the picture. Once we're talking about reflection now, summoning. Once you restore it and preserve it, and you summon that picture, in that picture is the verse. Drop the picture off and retain the abstract of that verse and apply it to your situation right here, 2023, in America, in your life. Even if you read a book on the life of Prophet Muhammad, and you're making pictures as you read the book. You have to make pictures. Every Arabic word has a picture except for the word Allah. Allah does not have a picture. You can't make a picture of Allah. You can restore attributes, qualities, but not giving a picture, a vivid picture. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I hope you're following now. Yes. Let's continue. So, Lam Yakhiru, we said, they do not fall, they do not fail, alal ilmi, upon the knowledge, bitilka ayatu, by these verses, by these signs, these verses, this pictorial language. Min al-ma'arifi, from the knowledge, the application, the knowledge, the education that you're getting, and its true realities, universal realities that can be applied anywhere on earth with any people. This Qur'an. So its verses are universal in nature. Even though we may take a parochial experience or picture and preserve it, you have to drop that off and see the true reality that's being preserved in it be sufficed. And once you become a witness to it, you can apply it anywhere. You can put the religion in your suitcase and get on a plane and go anywhere, open up your suitcase, put your Islamic suit on, and apply it right there where you're at. Yes. This is in our history. I have been invited to Alongside, and the event is called A Day of the Prophets. And there are speakers that will be speaking the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So I have to say to some of you all who sent a little text or message that there are no prophets after Prophet Muhammad. When they are saying a day of the prophets, they don't mean the speakers are call themselves prophets. The speakers are going to be talking about prophets, but they themselves are not saying they are prophets, and it's a day of the prophets, of the speakers. Let's make that clear. Let me make that clear. So you don't need to send and remind me that Muhammad is the last messenger of Allah. He's the last prophet, however you putting it. I don't need the memo. Okay. But there, I'm going to be speaking about what we're talking about now, I will add to it. Now, if some of you are there that's listening now, I can refer back to this. If you're not there, it would make sense to do that. But you will see the connections. And our own history, how we take our own history and make a picture from our own history and preserve it as a mythology. See, because it's not the true reality. It's just a mythology. An allegory or story, but it happened, it actually happened, but we're storing it as a mythology to call it back up and see the principles that's involved in it from the Quran. Yes. Summan. So the science, the reality as death. So, but they do not fall upon this idea. They do not fail in acquiring knowledge and true realities, I'm going to say, as someone who is deaf. Rather, bel takuha, they acquire it, I'm going to say, literally acquire it, be adhanin wa'iyatin, with an alert hearing. Yes, they become alive. They become alert to it when they hear these verses. Even those of you who are studying as students, and you're covering verses in the class, and you're writing reflections on the verses, and you're writing comments on the verses, when you hear those verses again in a setting, your ears become alert to the verses because you can recall the verses. When you go and you see something, an event you're seeing, or you're hearing something, you're seeing or hearing something, and you're able to summon the verse associated with what you're hearing, the ears become alert. You do not become deaf. Now, if you read the Quran and you can't make a picture, you're having a difficulty in making pictures, you can't make a picture. It is like you're hearing it, but no picture comes from it. It's like the same as being deaf. وَهِيَ أَذَانُ الْقُلُوبِ. It is the hearing of the heart. The hearing of the heart, the ears of the heart. You hear it in the heart. You know, you can be called to the religion. Someone can call you, but the call is not a call, an audible call that you're responding to. You're responding to something that you're hearing with your heart, not with your ears. So the ears is the ears of the heart. Nufusi, yes. Not with the ears of the soul. It's the ears of the heart. When you're able to hear with the ears of the heart is the place that holds all the knowledge of sciences. The ma'arif, it's the place of knowledge. The heart becomes a place of knowledge and of true realities. It's not in the soul, it's in the heart. Yes. Something else we'll be talking about alongside. Lawn side, L-A-W-N, lawn side. That's what, at the day of the prophets. The soul and the heart. The spirit, the ruh, the nafs, and the qalb, the heart. Yes, those three. وَعَلَى مُشَاهَدَتِهَا, and upon its witnessing. Yes. You witnessing, you see. Then it says, وَتَجْلِيهَا, then it begins to come up. It begins to be revealed. But you do not fall in something that's being revealed as though you're blind and you're not a witness to it. You can't witness it because you have to see it. You have to be present. We had this word last week. Mushahad, that means that it's something that you are present and you see it either with the physical eye or with the mind's eye, philosophically or literally. So if this doesn't happen, it's as though you're blind. Then, ahdaku. But the believer, otherwise, who is not blind, it says ahdaku nahwah, that they are able to encompass, to comprehend its examples. Bisairi, by the eyes. They're witnesses. By the eyes, jadidi and mukhulatin, with new cool. You know, the cool is the black that you put around the eyes. That refreshing. It's the idea of refreshing the eyes, giving it new vision. Binuril hadaya, with the light of guidance. Cool. You're able to take in the light with the eyes instead of the eyes reflecting off of you. The light reflecting off of your eyes and causing blindness, a type of blindness. You're able to take in the light of guidance. This is the idea of the cool. You see women putting cool on the eye, the blackness. You see ball players, football players. They don't want to be blinded by the sun, by the light. They want to absorb the light. So they put the black. You see them put the black on their faces, under the eyes. This is the idea of he's giving here. The visions of you put a new cool on, meaning that you're refreshing the eyes to new ideas in the true realities of the sciences in the heart. Based upon what we have said here, let's look at a statement by Imam W. Muhammad that sums it up. So we go and we find the principle from Imam W. Muhammad, or the logic that applies to not only the verse, but also see the contrasting effect that it has between the minds of Imam W. Muhammad and the minds of Ibn Arabi, and commenting on the verse. So he says, blindness in Scripture refers to ignorance. We can see that we are not just properly informed, not properly educated, ma'arif, or not educated at all. It is talking about those who are blind to the life of truth that God revealed for all people. No matter where you're at on this earth, God has revealed it for all people. We should not be joining blind herds for whom the traps of extremism, overreacting, are set. Becoming extreme because you're following the blind herd. Enough said. I thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.